Hi guys, this is Sadek from Dwebin.com, and in this video, we'll show you how to make changes to the mixer path.xml file to improve the headphone call, in-call and sound recording quality. So there are just two requirements that you have to check mark. First off, you have to root your phone via Magisk, and secondly, you have to mount the system partition as writable. So let's now carry out both this task. So for rooting, you could either do so via TWRP recovery, or you could root using by patching the boot img file. So if you have a custom recovery, I will recommend you to opt for that method. If you don't have a custom recovery, then you will have to patch the boot img file via Magisk and then flash it via fastboot command. In my case, I already have a TWRP recovery, so I'm opting for that method. If you don't have a recovery, then you could refer to my guide and root your phone using the fastboot command method and the stock boot or the init boot file. So in my case, I have a recovery. So let me now root my phone via recovery method. So for that, you need to download the recovery file onto your phone. So in my case, this is the recovery img file and this is the recovery zip file. If you only have the img file, that will also do, but I will still recommend that you should have both the img and the zip file. Once you have both this file, make sure to place both this file inside the platform root folder on your PC. So I've given the link, download it from my guide and extract them onto your PC and then place the TWRP recovery file onto your PC. So as of now, we are doing these steps just to root your phone. So in case you don't have a custom recovery, you could use the Magisk patch image file. In my case, I have a custom recovery, so I'm using this method to root my phone. So once we have got the recovery file, you could now unlock the bootloader and then flash the recovery file. So for unlocking the bootloader, I have made a separate guide on the same. You could refer to my guide and unlock the bootloader. Let me show you once. The generic steps involve booting to fastboot mode and then using the fastboot flashing unlock command. So just carry out that task, and you could see from here, I have made a guide for all the phones. In most phones, you just have to boot your phone to fastboot mode and type in fastboot flashing unlock or fastboot OEM unlock and then unlock the bootloader. In case of Xiaomi, you will have to use the Xiaomi Mi Flash tool. But apart from that, all the other requires the fastboot command method. In my case, I have already unlocked the bootloader. So let's now proceed ahead and boot our phone to the TWRP recovery. So regarding this, it's always recommended that you first boot your phone to the recovery, and if everything is working well and good, you could then permanently flash the recovery file onto your phone. So let's now first boot our phone to TWRP recovery. For booting to the recovery mode, you will first have to boot to the fastboot mode. And for that, make sure to enable USB debugging on your phone. You could do so by going to the settings menu on your phone. Then from there, you have to go to about phone and tap on build number 7 times. Then go to system and you should now see developer option. So go there and enable the toggle next to USB debugging. Once you do so, the debugging will be enabled and you could then move ahead and boot your phone to the TWRP recovery. So first off, let's boot our phone to the fastboot mode. For booting our phone to fastboot mode, you have to type in CMD in the address bar of platform root folder. And once that is done, you have to type in ADB reboot bootloader and hit enter, and this will boot your phone to fastboot mode. It might take a few seconds, so let's just wait for the time frame and then we'll proceed ahead. Just to recall, I am using these steps to root my phone. In my case, I have a custom recovery. If you don't have a custom recovery, then please use this method given in this guide, which involves rooting without the use of a recovery. So with that said, I will first off boot my phone to the custom recovery, and if it's working well and good, I will then flash it. So for booting to the recovery, let's rename the file to something shorter. So this is the recovery file for my phone. So let me just rename it to TWRP, and it's the img file. And likewise, this is the zip file. If you don't have the zip file, that's not an issue. I'll also show you how to flash it using just the img file itself. So as of now, I have both the img and zip file. This is the img file, this is the zip file. So first off, let's boot our phone to TWRP recovery. So type in fastboot boot twrp.img, and your phone should now boot to the TWRP recovery for one-time usage. Do note that I have already unlocked the bootloader on my phone using the guide given here. In your case, you will first and foremost have to unlock the bootloader, and once that is done, you could then install the recovery onto your phone it's always recommended to first temporarily boot to recovery, and if it's working well and good, you could then permanently flash it as well. So as of now, as you could see, my phone is booting to TWRP recovery. So this signifies that the recovery is working, and you could now go ahead and make the recovery permanent. As for this guide regarding the making changes to the mixer path XML file, we will have to flash the recovery file permanently onto our phone. This is a requirement which you cannot escape from. So simply booting to TWRP for one-time usage will not get the job done. You will have to permanently flash the recovery onto your phone. So in this regard, I have made this guide and I will explain all the use case scenario. So let me show you just a minute. So in case your phone has a recovery partition, in case your phone is AB partition or just A partition, if your phone has a recovery or if there is no recovery partition, if your phone has a recovery RAM disk partition, how to install the recovery without using the zip file, I will explain all these use case scenario. So please make sure to go through them and then flash the recovery accordingly. If your phone does not have a recovery, again that's not an issue, but as of now I am only discussing the step for those users who have a recovery. So once our phone is booted to recovery, let's now make the recovery permanent. So now you just have to make the recovery permanent. For that, copy the recovery zip file and transfer the recovery zip file onto your phone. So let me do so. So let's now transfer the recovery zip file onto my phone. Once that is done, go to install, then select the TWRP zip file and do a right swipe to flash it. The recovery is now permanently flashed onto our phone. Once that is done, tap on reboot and select recovery, and our phone should now reboot to TWRP recovery. If your phone does not have a recovery zip file, then from the use the fastboot boot command to boot to TWRP for one-time usage, then select advanced reboot and this time select bootloader, and your phone will reboot to fastboot mode. From the fastboot mode, you just have to use the fastboot flash recovery twrp.img or fastboot flash boot twrp.img. So let me show you both this command once more. So if your phone does not have a zip file, then either you have to use the fastboot flash recovery, just a minute, recovery twrp.img, or you have to use the fastboot flash boot twrp.img, depending on whether your phone has a recovery partition or not. If your phone has a recovery partition, you have to flash the recovery in the recovery partition, or else you have to use the boot partition. I have also made a separate guide and a video on the same. Regarding this, you could verify if your phone has a recovery partition or not. So you could check from here. If your phone has a recovery partition, you could simply flash it onto the recovery partition. If your phone does not have a recovery partition, then you will have to flash it in the boot partition. Moreover, if your phone has a zip file, then you don't even need to use this command. Simply flash the zip file in the TWRP and then reboot to the recovery. So with this, we have rebooted to recovery, and this signifies that the recovery has been flashed onto our phone. So your next course of action is to flash the matches file to obtain root. So for that, you could refer to my guide. I have linked this guide in the description. Go to my guide and download the latest matches zip file or the APK. Anyone will do. So as of now, I have got the matches APK file onto my phone. So transfer the matches APK file onto your phone. Then go to install and select the matches APK and do a right swipe to flash it. And with this, we are now flashing the matches APK file. It will take only a few seconds. Once that is done, you will now have to reboot your phone to system. So let's wait for a few more seconds and just flashing the new boot image file. And let's just wait for the time frame. And with this, the flashing is now complete. Now select reboot and tap on system, and your phone will now reboot to the OS. And this time around, we just have to do one more task, and after that we have obtained root. So I am again repeating, I am currently doing the first step, which requires you to root your phone via matches. So for that, I am using the recovery method. You are free to use any of the two methods. You could also root your phone via the non-recovery method. In that, you have to patch the boot file via matches and flash it via fastboot. So anyway, I am using the recovery method. I have flashed the recovery and then I have flashed the matches zip file or the APK file. Both will do. Now what you have to do is simply install the Magisk APK file onto your phone. So open the File Manager app and then select the Magisk APK file and tap on install. And with this, the app is installed. Tap on open. You will get a prompt. Tap on OK. Select direct install and choose let's go. So with this, Magisk will now flash the new boot image file. Once done, you have to tap on reboot, and with this your phone will now boot to the OS. And this time around our phone should be rooted via Magisk. So we have now obtained root and we could now move ahead with the next step. So let's just wait for a few more seconds for our phone to boot to the OS, and then we could move ahead. So our phone will now boot to the OS, and with this we have obtained root. So our next course of action is to mount the system partition read write or RW. By default, the system partition is only readable, so you will be able to read the file or view the file on the root partition on your phone, but you will not be able to make any changes to it. So in this guide, I will first show you how to make the system partition writable so that you could easily make any changes to any file on the system partition. So let's now move ahead and make the system partition writable. So for that, there are two approaches, the recovery and the fastboot method. In my case, I have a custom recovery, so I'll be using the recovery method. If you don't have a custom recovery, then you will have to use the fastboot method. If in your case you have a recovery as well and the fastboot method as well, then it's highly recommended that you use the recovery method because it's very easy and quite shorter to carry out. So as for this guide, I'm using the recovery method. I have made a separate guide on the fastboot method as well. So you could refer to my guide or the video. This is for the fastboot method and this is for the recovery method. As of now, I will be using the recovery method. So let's now carry out this task. For that, first off, you have to install the recovery onto your phone. We have already done that. Next up, you have to root your phone via Magisk. We have also obtained root. So now you have to download this RO2RW zip file onto your phone. So let me download the zip file. So go there and download the latest stable build file from here. So it will take only a few seconds. So let's just wait for the time frame. And once the download is done, you will now have to send this file onto your phone. So simply copy this file from here, and you could then send this file onto your phone. If your phone is not visible here, then simply expand the notification section and select file transfer from here, and with this your phone should now be visible. So now what you have to do is simply transfer the file RO2RW zip file over here, and with this we have got the file. So let's now move ahead with the next step. So now you will have to flash this module via Magisk. So launch the Magisk app, then go to modules, tap on install from storage. Then you have to select the RO2RW module, and it will then tap on OK, and it will now be flashed. Once the flashing is done, you have to tap on reboot. Do note that the module does not have any UI of its own. So we will be using an app which is similar to the CMD window or command prompt for PC onto our phone. The name of the app is Termux. You can install this app from Play Store or GitHub or F-Droid. So install this app onto your phone, and then we will launch the module using this emulator app and then carry out the rest of the task. So let's just wait for the phone to boot up, and with this our phone is now in the OS and the module has now been flashed. So now you can install this app from Play Store. So let me show you the app page. So this is the app Termux. So let me transfer this app onto my phone as well, and let's now move ahead with the next step. So first off, open the app and now type in SU and hit enter. You will now get a Magisk prompt. So type on grant, and with this Termux has been given the Magisk request. So now you will have to launch the module. So type in the module name, which is RO2RW, and hit enter, and it will now load the module. So first off, you have to select make install. For that, type in 1 and hit enter. Next up, you have to give it expand the partition size. So in my case, I am choosing the 4th option. You could choose any of the options from the above as shown below. So I am choosing the 4th option. Then you have to type in 4 or any of the number of your choice. Then type in 1 to confirm. Once that is done, it will now ask you to install the disable force encryption. So as of now, it's recommended to skip this. So type in 1 and hit enter, and it will now carry out a few tasks. So give it a few seconds. So it will take around 10 to 15 seconds at the very max. In some cases it might take a little bit longer. So let's just wait for the time frame and let it do the job done. And it's now copying all the partition, and it will ask you to hit any key to continue. So press the enter key, and now it's asking to remove something. So select no. So for that, type in 2 and hit enter. And next up is asking you to take a backup of the original super partition. It's highly recommended that you take a backup. So type in 1 and hit enter. As of now, I have taken a backup beforehand, so I don't need a backup. But still, let's take a backup. I will show you once again. Next up, it will now ask you whether you want a fastboot backup or a recovery backup. In my case, I am opting for the recovery backup. So let me choose 2. If you want a fastboot backup, so you could choose 1. In your case, if there is no custom recovery, then you have no choice but to go for the fastboot method. So opt for fastboot backup. In my case, I have a recovery, so I'm choosing the recovery backup. So it will now back up the stock super partition and will take up a few seconds. So let's just wait for the time frame, and it's currently backing up the super partition. So let's just wait for it, and the backing usually takes up to around a couple of minutes at the very max. So let's just wait for the backup to complete, and then we'll move ahead with the next step. Now it's asking us to create the new RW super IMG file. So in our case, we are using the recovery method. So we will be typing in 2. If you are using the fastboot method, you have to type in 1. So in my case, I'm using the recovery method. So I'm typing in 2 and hit enter. And it will now make a read-writable RW super IMG file, which will then flash onto our phone. And our system partition will then become RW. And we could then move ahead and carry out the rest of the task. So the process of making the super partition RW will take only a few seconds. So let's just wait for the time frame, and then we could move ahead. So with this, we have both the original super backup as well as the new RW super backup as well. So onto our phone. So if in rare cases something goes wrong, you could easily restore the stock backup and get the job done. So now it's asking you to disable verification. So now you have to force disable. So type in 1 and hit enter. And with this, we have got the stock as well as the RW super backup image file. Let's verify the same. So let me launch the file manager app. Any file manager app will do. And now go to the storage section, and you will now see a new folder by the name of RO2RW. Go there, and as you could see, this is the stock backup of the super partition, and this is the super RW file of the super partition. We have to flash this RW file, which will make the super partition read and writable. So let's now flash it. In my case, I have opted for the recovery method, so I flash it via the recovery method. In your case, since you have opted for, if you have opted for fastboot method, then you'll have to flash it using the fastboot method. Regarding that, I have made a guide. I have listed the steps in this guide, or I have made a video on that as well. You could refer to my video. Let me show you. This is the video. The first video is using the fastboot method. You could refer to my video or the guide and get this job done. So as of now, I am using the recovery method. So let's now boot our phone to the recovery mode. For that, just type in ADB reboot recovery and hit enter, and our phone should now reboot to the TWRP recovery. It will take up to a few seconds. That's completely normal. And once that happens, we will now have to flash the super RW to the super partition. So let me show you that. In my case, as you might have noticed, the recovery takes up to a few seconds to boot up. That is completely normal and nothing to worry about. So let's just I have linked this guide on the video description as well. So the first video is for the fastboot method. I have named them as well accordingly, and this is for the recovery method. So currently I'm using the recovery method to get this job done. This is because the recovery is quite easy and it's quite shorter. On the other hand, the fastboot method is quite complicated, quite lengthy, but most Android phone nowadays does not have a custom recovery. So for those phones, they have no option but to opt for the fast boot method. So with that said, I have both this method, and now we are in the recovery. So now select install, and now you have to go to the folder RO2RW and then tap on install image, and now select the super RW file. Make sure you are choosing the RW file. So choose super RW and then select the super partition, and now perform a write swap to flash it. The flashing will now begin, and it will hardly take up to 8 to 10 seconds maximum, as opposed to the fastboot method, wherein in fastboot method it could take up to 10 to 15 minutes, but in case of recovery it only takes up to 10 seconds, and that's all it. So as you could see, the flashing is going on, and it's just about to get over, and once that happens we could then reboot our phone to the OS. So guys, the flashing is now just about to get complete, and with this you will get the image flash complete. So tap on reboot system, and your phone will now boot to the OS, and with this you could now make any changes to the system files present on the system partition. So apart from being able to read the file, which you gain even after rooting, you will now be able to write the changes as well. So with that said, we have checkmarked all the requirements. In fact, there were just 2 requirements. First off, you have to root your phone via Magisk, and then you have to mount the system partition RW. So with this we have checkmarked both the requirements, and now let's move ahead and talk about the most important aspect of this guide. So now I'll show you how to access the mixer path.xml file, which holds all the volume tweaks, and then make changes to it. So first off, make sure to install a root supported file manager app. In my case, I'm using the Solid File Manager app. You can install the app from Play Store. So once you have installed the app, launch it, and then you have to go to the root directory. You will get a Magisk prompt, so make sure to tap on grant. Once that is done, on most Android phone you have to go to the system directory. From system you have to go to vendor, then go to etc, and now you should now see the mixer path.xml file on this location. So just a minute. So as you could see, this is the mixer path.xml file. This is the location for most Android phone I have seen, beginning with I guess Android 7 or 8 up until Android 13 or Android 12. This is the exact location across I have verified Xiaomi and OnePlus phone. So I guess this will be the same location for all the Android phone. So anyways, open the mixer path.xml file, and you could choose the SE text editor for making changes to it, and now you could easily make any changes to it, and there will be no restriction whatsoever. So for instance, if you could make a search for headphone, so let me show you. So as you could see, headphone class H mode is the subject, and inside it are quite a lot of values. You could change these values and see if there are any changes. Apart from that, we have some volume tweaks as well. So there are a few volume, as you could see from here. You could change the value of this volume. Do keep in mind that there is no universal volume tweak. You will have to make the changes accordingly and see what fits best in your case and on your phone and with the speaker that your phone has. So every phone has different values, so make sure to change the value accordingly. So let me show you. For instance, this is the headset mic value. By default it's set to 84. If you just have a rooted phone, you will be able to view the value, but you will not be able to modify and change the value. But since we have obtained RW system, I could now change the value as well. But before that, I will highly recommend you to take a backup of this file. Once you have taken a backup, so for instance, it's the path name is the headset mic, so the value is 84. Now change the value to 100. So since we have obtained the RW, you could now easily tap on save, and the value will now be saved, as you could see, and we have obtained the changes to the headset mic file. Apart from that, you could, so let me revert to the original value first and foremost, and let me show you how to take a backup. So save it, and once that is done, as you could see, we have changed and saved the value. So once that is done, this is the mixer path.xml file. You could simply copy it and paste it here, and it will ask you to, if you want to keep the both, so tap on keep both, and you now have both the files over here. So mixer, let's refresh it once, and let's verify the backup file, and only then we will move ahead with the changes. So as you could see, we have two files. The mixer path is the original one, and the mixer path 1 is the backup one. So you could now you will now have to make changes to the original file, and only then the system will be able to read the file. Don't make any changes to the backup one, only make the changes to the original one. So in our case is the mixer path.xml. So you could now, for instance, search for any value. Let's again search for the headphone, and you could do the next and previous from here as well, and change any value of your choice. Just make sure to remember the value, and apart from that, also make sure that you remember the path name of that value, or else it will be quite difficult to remember it once again. So the path name actually identifies the subset or the subsection of the value that you are about to change. So apart from that, you have quite a few other values as well. So for example, in case of, let me show you recording also, you might have a few values for recording. So for screen recording, you could change a few values of screen recording, and for screen recording as well, there are few tweaks. And then there are a few tweaks, there are quite a lot of tweaks with regards to the volume. So if you search for the volume, then there will be quite a lot of volume. So let's change the volume of the remember file. So for example, this is the volume control, and the first one this one, as you could see, is the ear speaker PA gain value is for default, and HPHR, regarding the HPHR, TX and ADC, you could Google it, and I have also listed out a description. You could refer to my guide, and the HPH and RX value I have explained, both the simple explanation as well as the technical explanation, and as well as which recommendation you should go for, but the choice is completely yours. You could opt for whatever you want. You could choose from here as well, and then make whatever changes you want onto your phone using this. Just make sure that you are making the changes to the original file. So for instance, this is the 84, it's the WSA RxD file for volume controls. Let's make it 100 and save it, and we could now easily save it. And once you are done with making the changes, simply remove the original file from here, delete it, and then remove the one from the backup file, and this will now act as the original file in our case. So just remove it, and now this will be the original file, the mixer path.xml. So make sure there are no spaces anywhere in the file name, and this is the mixer underscore path.xml will now act as the official file in our case. So you could also go through my guide and make the changes accordingly. And guys, on that note, I round off this video. While it could sound like a lengthy video, but you just have to check mark to requirement, root your phone via Magisk, and then mount the system partition as RW. Once you do so, you just have to go to system vendor accepted directory, and then open the mixer path XML file from here, and then you could then choose and change the value as per your requirement. You could refer to my guide also if you want, and get this job done. So if you still have any queries, do let me know in the comment section, and thanks a lot for watching.